Hello, chaps. Here we are all again. It's Friday again. Oh, dear me. Look at the glare on that baldy noggin of mine. Let's see if I can do something about putting that right, shall we? Let's just turn this down a bit. That's a little bit more bearable, isn't it? Although it's probably going to look like I'm in some sort of black hole. I don't know, the lighting in here and this camera software tends to be unpredictable. But we're here. It's Friday. We've got beer. That's what counts. Cheers, everyone. Oh, just the kind of weak, cheap stuff. There we go. That's what I mean. Looking like I'm in a black hole. And isn't it amazing how a beer can do that? There we go. And we're back. Yes, just the green Carlsberg again this week. It's on offer in Morrison's, and it's perfectly quaffable. The difference is that it might take you a couple more cans to get you where you want to be by the end of the evening, but it's still saving money in terms of the bulk offer that they've got on in Morrison's. Anyway, it's Friday and it's all about the beer. Let's have a look and see who's joining me for a beer this week and who was first in. David James first in. Same greeting twice. It's nice to know you care, mate. And then we've got Bev Doyle's Theme Tunes, the artist formerly known just simply as Theme Tunes. And then we've got Auto Geddon 1. There's Anton, Tom Clark, Boulder 64 is in, so is Peter Collins, Malcolm Spillett, who's in Suffolk. It's grey and dreary. Yes, it's very much like that here as well. Now let me just tweak this lighting again because it is looking a little bit sort of mood lighting, subdued. There, we'll go with that. See how we get on with that. Johnny Random is in, so is Frank Bolam, Vincent Brennan, John Ross. Francis Chambers is there, as is Michael Dodds, who tells me that the action on his guitar is lower than a rattlesnake's belly. Yes, indeed. I think I've probably used that one once or twice myself, mate. There's nothing wrong with a low action. And then we've got Rubbish Guitar Bloke. We've got Doc Alders. They're going to have to watch on catch-up. Hospital appointment, post-resurrection check on my admission to the Borg and its continued validity. Cheers. Yes. Well, I hope everything goes okay for you there, Doc Alders and Ian, isn't it? Yes. And, and just enjoy watching on catch-up. That goes for everybody else who's not watching live. That shows an amount of dedication, kind of chatting to a fat bald bloke while he's drinking beer is one thing, but just watching a fat bald bloke while he's drinking beer, I admire your determination, mate. We've got Paul Trainer, who, as usual, has chucked a couple of quid in the tip jar. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. That will go towards tonight's takeaway. We've got PFY Guitars. We've got Joe McMurray, Savvy 64. Dr. Gomez is in, so is Peter Hall, Peter S., Chris Ottewell, Johnny D., who was supposed to be in the studio mastering our album today until COVID screwed that up and I had to leave it to the others. Go careful out there. There's a lot of the virus about again. Yes, well, I won't share my thoughts on that. Cal Texper is in, so is Colin Falcon. We've got Robin Fawcett. I don't think I've seen Grandpa Joe yet. Are you awake, Grandpa Joe? We got Pablo Hank, session guitar legend Gary Shaw is in, so is Austin Barrett. And there's Rexamatic from Phoenix, Arizona. It was coming into their good weather season, just need to get recovered from some surgery to be able to hike, bike, swim and run again. Rex, you put a fat lad like me to shame, mate. Not enough shame that I'm going to do anything about it, though. Walking the dog is as far as I get. Then we've got Martin Scholes, John Channing, Triple Distilled, Moons Guitars, Greg H. And we've got, who else have we got? Paul Coleman, all the way from the west coast of France. El Duderino is in, and so is Reeled In 58, who's got a night off work tonight, so he can come and watch us live. El Duderino is in California. I hope you're having a beer, mate, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere, isn't it? Even if it is only in Redcar. You've never heard of Redcar before you started watching me, have you? But I'd heard of California. Then who else have we got? We got the Essex Cat, William Forrest, Adrian Laws, Brad Dowell, and let's have a look. There's Vincent Brennan. There's Grandpa Joe. There he is. Let's put you up on screen, Joe. Cheers, Fatcasters. Consider John's Patreon. Guarantee you will enjoy the benefit. Tier 2 offers more perks and the twice-a-month Zoom chat with John and fellow Fatcasters. Thank you, Joe, my marketing manager. Much appreciated, mate. You know, if I had more kind of modesty, I would blush at the lovely things you say about me. But, you know, I just have to switch that off. Who else we got? We got Jeff Benner and Les Hewitt. Let's have a look. Tyler Newcomb, who's echoing what a few people have said already. I'm just going to have a little bit of a blether about this once we get into the stream proper about, you know, sadly, we've lost Ace Frehley, you know, which is... I was surprised when I read that he was 74 because I genuinely thought he was older than that. You know, but it is what it is, and such a tragic way to for someone to go because he, you know, didn't he just kind of have a bit of a nasty fall, hurt his head, and that was pretty much, you know, the thing that set the ball rolling for his demise. Really, really sad, random kind of daft accident. But, you know, anyway, moving on, we've got Dave Fiendish, we've got Gordo Canuck, Mr. Chris is in a stalwart of the channel, and what are you saying there, Chris? Yes, Mr. John Smith, 7:30 when Emmerdale Street starts. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about there, mate, but as long as you're happy. We've got Bill Mumbo, we got Cushman NYC, we've got let's have a look, anyone else new? Ingrid is in, so is Muskie. Nice to see you, mate. And I think that is everybody. If I've missed anyone out, blame it on the fact that I'm a fat, bald, simple northern lad, and that explains a lot of things. That's to be said. Anyway, let's tell you what's coming up on the channel this week. Sunday, you're going to be seeing me doing a full-on proper review of the Explorer. Couldn't get my words out then. You know, that you saw me kind of giving a first impressions review to yesterday. So full on, usual sort of deep dive. I've got 2 or 3 videos featuring that guitar in the pipeline. There's the one that you've seen, and there's a couple more. Another one of which I've actually made, but it hasn't gone out yet. And then there's another one where, you know, a little bit of a spoiler alert. You might have seen a chap called Heafley in the chat, was it last week or the week before, where he was asking how I was getting on with his Ibanez Destroyer, a guitar that's been loaned to me. Well, I'm an Ibanez Destroyer, and if you know anything about those, you'll know it's basically an Ibanez version of an Explorer, and it just seemed too good an opportunity to miss not to compare them. So that's coming up in the near future. But in the even nearer future, next week, we've got Monday's lead guitar lesson, which is a little bit of rockabilly for you. Although I say rockabilly, you could equally apply this to jazz or country or many, many other genres. You know, it's just a nice little kind of rhythm and lead guitar trick. Tuesday's video, it's a top 5, and these are the essential tools for anybody that plays a guitar. You know, just things that you can do to do a routine little bit of guitar maintenance. As you know, I'm not talking about, you know, a refret or a recrowning or a polish and recrown or anything like that. Just the sort of thing that you do as a sort of running maintenance, things that will happily fit in that little segment of your guitar case or your gig bag. Just things that it's handy to have around. And yeah, we're going to find out what those are on Tuesday. You probably already know what they are now. I've told you what I'm going to be talking about. Wednesday's video, it's another rhythm-based one. Again, we're looking a little bit more into the rhythm notation this week, which I'm sort of trying to sneak in and just, you know, speaking as somebody that didn't, you know, kind of know what the difference between a triplet and a 16th note and a polyrhythm and all this sort of stuff was once upon a time, and then having kind of battled my way through it and learned what it is, I can tell you that it's massively useful, and it solved a lot of problems for me in terms of timing and all manner of stuff. So, we're going to be looking again a little bit of rhythm notation on Wednesday in the form of me tabbing out one of the licks from one of my solos. And then Thursday, as many of you know, because you are my wonderful, wonderful Patreon supporters, the Tier 2 Patreon supporters, and I think now the Tier 1 people as well, get a weekly blog post from me, and I've decided to take select ones of those and turn them into videos. If you want to kind of get the content early, then sign up for the Patreon. But this is one from a couple of months back where I'm talking about the big guitar conventions like NAMM and Guitar Summit and the Birmingham Guitar Show and that kind of thing, and what my thoughts on those kind of shows are. And if you want to know what they are, well, watch the video on Thursday and you'll find out. Anyway, after all that blethering, I need to have a little bit of a swallow. Yeah, and Ace Frehley. Let's go back to Ace. I don't think I've made any secret of the fact that I'm not the world's biggest Kiss fan. I didn't dislike them, but I don't remember them being, and this is probably me leading a very sheltered life. But as a kid growing up in the 70s, I don't remember Kiss being a band that were that big in the UK. I'm sure they had their fan base and everything, but you would see Status Quo on Top of the Pops. You would see even the likes of Rainbow and Black Sabbath on Top of the Pops. You would see, kind of Thin Lizzy on Top of the Pops. But I don't ever remember seeing, the face paint and the costumes and everything, a band like Kiss on Top of the Pops. I didn't know about them until much later, well into the 80s, the early 80s anyway. So I didn't kind of grow up with their music, so it doesn't have that fond place in my heart that it does for a lot of people. But when I found out just what a huge band they were, and then the names like I think I probably first heard them when Bruce Kulick was the lead guitar player. And but all of the names became synonymous with kind of big, kind of anthemic, kind of stadium rock kind of stuff, and you forget that they are just mere mortals. They are just flesh and blood like the rest of us. And I remember feeling the same sense of shock when, even though I wasn't a massive Van Halen fan, when Eddie passed. And, the same kind of, shell shock when we lost David Bowie and Lemmy and, even going back to when Gary Moore passed away, it's a bit of a culture shock to think, yes, these people are just, mere mortals, and they do kind of go the way of all flesh, as they say. So that was, when you have to read a story 3 or 4 times, and when you're looking at the news and you think, can't be, bloody hell, it is. So that was, a massively sad loss. And as I say, as I understand it, it was just him having a little bit of a fall and, cracked his head and then there was, kind of bleeding where there shouldn't have been bleeding, and and that was pretty much the end. It just goes to show you how fragile this existence is, doesn't it? So yeah, that was a massive shock, really. There's no other word for it. I'm trying to think of a more artistic way of putting it, but it is what it is. It's a shock. Let's have a look, see what I've missed in the chat. Because I've been blethering quite a wee bit here. Mr. Chris is saying, when Emmerdale starts, I will start on my 8-pack of John Smiths. Yes, John Smiths. I can't pretend that I envy you drinking John Smith's. Yes, it's not my favourite tipple at all. El Duderino's saying Ibanez Destroyer. Shall I get the Ibanez Destroyer out? It'll take me a second, but bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. Ibanez Destroyer. Here we go. As you can probably tell, not a new guitar. Look at the either that or it's had some heck of a relic job done on it. I'm gathering this is one from after the lawsuit period because of this little alteration to the body shape here. The one thing I didn't know was that that they were a bolt-on neck, but you know, obviously this one is. I tell you what, it is though. It's beautifully set up. You know, but then again, why wouldn't it be? This belongs to, as I say, well, he's an ex-student of mine and a bit of a mate. He's called Spencer, and this guitar is going to be his Christmas present from his family, and it's been to Agrajag in Middlesbrough to get a nice bit of setup work done on it. So I'm really looking for. I've never played an Ibanez Destroyer before, so I am looking forward to checking it out. Doesn't look like it's got the original bridge pickup in it. I'm no kind of aficionado of such things, but would you say that looks a bit like, you know, with the cream-coloured bobbin? You know, does that look sort of a little bit DiMarzio to you? It's, yeah. So this compared to the, let's prop this up. Hang on. Where am I going to put this? We'll put this on the chair here like this. I'm looking forward to doing that video. I'm probably going to be making that video on Sunday morning. You know, so we shall. Yeah, Jim Brennan saying DiMarzio, El Duderino, Dr. Gomez saying that's the first time I've seen your fat ass, John. Yes, it is rather ample, isn't it? So there's plenty of padding there. This body was brought to you by Carlsberg. And curry. Although we're not having a curry tonight. Mrs. Robson has expressed a request that we swap our curry night with our takeaway night. So Friday night used to be the Robson homemade curry, and Saturday night used to be the takeaway. But now we do it the other way around. So I'm going to be ordering a kebab or something right after the live stream. Anyway, that's more neck oil decanted, and what a perfect head on that. Not flaky at all. You know, prove it isn't. Tom Clark saying, does it have its own postcode? Pretty much, mate. Yes. What else have I missed in the chat? Let's have a wee look. Balder64 saying Paul Stanley's Iceman is iconic, though. Yes, I used to have one of those. Was, you know, back in the 80s, I was always, well, I was a starving student, and I would always try and kind of do a bit of a flip on guitars and try and kind of make a bit of money buying and selling guitars. Not really sure I did much more than break even, though, but it was a good excuse to have a new guitar every few weeks. El Duderino saying, what year? That's awesome. I don't know what the year is, mate, but I can rest assured that will be in the video when it goes out, because I'll do some serial number research and what have you. I'll try and figure it out. Balder64 just punted my massive Headrush Prime on eBay, sticking to my Boss GT100 and GX 1000. Far superior sound. Oh, most of that went above my head, mate. You know, so you've sold one kind of multi-effects processor and you're sticking with two other multi-effects processors. And again, the blog that went out today that I'd written this week and went out this morning, it's does anybody watch those rig rundown videos where, you know, there'll be some kind of mega famous guitar player, and they're showing you their, you know, the videos I'm talking about. Have you ever noticed how many of those somebody will have like a quad cortex or I don't know, an Axe Effects or something like that. You know, one of the dear ones, one of the expensive ones, something that's going to, cost a serious amount of money. That's a serious commitment. And they say, yeah, well, I mainly just use this for this one sound on this one song. It's like, it just seems to be a little bit sledgehammer to crack a walnut for me. And that is basically my feelings on these kind of things. As I've said many times, just dial in the dirtiest sound you need from you. Clean it up with the volume control, and then add a little bit of chorus, reverb, delay, whatever you want after the fact as when you recorded it, or maybe, on your pedal board as you're playing it. And it's like, I can't envisage ever needing more than that. But as I've said, I am a simple lad. Let's have a wee look. Dr. Gomez is saying they weren't a pop band until after the third studio album, and then they changed. That's why Ace left them. We're talking about Kiss here. Yeah, again, I think probably that my first experience of hearing Kiss was when I went to college. Because it was a naval college, or merchant navy college, and we used to live in these. For the first year, you had to live in the halls of residence, but they were called decks, and it was basically a battle of the boom boxes. Whoever had the loudest boom box was the music that you tended to listen to, and that's when I first heard Kiss. And I remember probably my first experience was back in. No, it's not back in. What is it? That's the Ace Frehley one, Back in the New York Groove. I Was Made for Loving You. That just sounded to me like a disco tune. Johnny D's saying, never a Kiss fan either, but very sad to see Ace passing. Too many people leaving us. Yeah, I mean, we've had... and I suppose when you think about it, if we're talking about people who were big in the 1970s, that's 50 years ago. We've seen, as I said, Bowie, we've seen Lemmy, we've seen Jeff Beck, we've seen Gary Moore, we've seen, now Ace Frehley. A lot of them are just kind of falling off the perch, aren't they? Because it's, people have a lifespan, and rock stars, it has to be said, perhaps don't necessarily have lifestyles which are compatible with longevity, he said, with his double chin and mug of ale and vape and thinking about the greasy kebab he's going to have later. So maybe you could say that about guitar teachers as well, who knows. By the way, I'm just looking at some notes that I've got down here. One thing I do want to mention is that if you have any anecdotes, any stories, any amusing tales, related to music. It could be a disastrous gig. It could be a fantastic gig, but, maybe there's a smile to be had in the memory of it. It could be meeting your favourite rock star and finding out that they were a complete arsehole, or maybe not, who knows. Then ping them over to me, because I'm completely out of viewers' tales at the moment. jrguitartuition@gmail.com. Send me just any of your amusing stories, and don't think that they have to be entirely truthful. That doesn't matter, as long as it's amusing, as long as we can get some sort of little kernel of truth out of it. Then that's the main thing. Just ping them over, jrguitartuition@gmail.com. And as you probably gathered, I'm out of them, so there's no the viewers' tales this week. Let's have a little bit of a look, see what else up here. Johnny D is saying, can't love wonky-shaped offset guitars. I've tried, but I can't. Apologies to those who do. I'm with you on the majority of offsets, mate, especially Fender offsets, Jaguars, Jazzmasters, Mustangs. They really don't do it for me. And I think I know why things like the Explorer, is that an offset? And like the Firebird that I did recently, I think I know why those guitars don't bother me so much, and it's because like like this part of the guitar that is this the lower horn, the sticky out bit on the under the E string, if you like. That's there on an Explorer and on a Firebird, but it's not there on a Jazzmaster. It's not there on a Mustang, or not so much, and it's certainly not there on a Jaguar. And just that, it kind of looks like it's had an amputation, and it just looks a little bit, I don't know, what's the word, out of proportion. So, you know, there you go. That's just aesthetic, and especially with a Jazzmaster with that kind of rhythm circuit thing that, you know, I've never done a degree in quantum physics, so I don't really understand how that works. But, you know, I know some people love it. I know they do. And takes all sorts and different strokes and all that, you know, to each their own. I'm not trying to say that raspberry jam is better than strawberry jam, although clearly it is. But, you know, if you like what you like and, you know, you don't like what you don't like, and, you know, it's, I don't know why we can't just run the world on that principle. It would make life a lot simpler, wouldn't it? But there you go. Anyway. Vincent Brennan, yes. Too many switches also. Yep. Let's have a look. El Duderino, anybody have any bridge single coil sized pickup Rex? Well, I'm not sure what a pickup rec REC. What? Maybe again that's you know, my ignorance. I'm afraid. But if anybody has any bridge single coil sized pickup Rex, then just give El Duder recommendation. Sorry, mate. Yes, that's bridge single coil pickups. Well, what have I had as single coils in bridge positions? For a Strat, I would want something a little bit hotter than usual. So maybe a Seymour Duncan quarter pounder. I'm sure Iron Gear do something like that as well, but I can't for the life of me recall what it is. But I do like a bridge single coil to be just a little bit overwound and just a little bit fatter. For a Telecaster bridge single coil, then Tone Rider Alnico Blues 2. Fantastic Telecaster pickups. I had, what was it? A Fender Light Ash Telecaster many years ago, and that came as stock with Seymour Duncan Alnico Pro 2 pickups in it, both bridge and neck, and the bridge pickup on that was just heavenly. And the Tone Riders are basically a clone of those for a fraction of the price. Bill Mumbo saying blackcurrant jam, Young John, then raspberry, then strawberry. No arguments, please. What else have I missed in the chat? Malcolm Spillett saying, I got a serious discount on the ME50, the Boss ME50. God, that's going back a bit, isn't it? Vincent Brennan is saying, what are all the young pretenders going to do as all the great musicians and songwriters pop off? More slop, I suppose. There's good stuff out there, mate. As many of you know, I do a reaction video on Patreon, however you want to pronounce it, on a Sunday for the Tier 2 crowd. And one guy who's impressed me like massively so is Eric Steckel. Oh, dear me. Yes, now that is my kind of shredding guitar player. Bluesy and melodic and fiery. It's like you take a little bit of Johnny Winter, you take a little bit of Gary Moore, you take a little bit of Stevie Ray Vaughan, and you mix them all in a pot. Add in, you know, a steaming Les Paul tone, and it's just heavenly to listen to. And he's only a young chap, so they are coming through. you know, and certainly in the UK, I can't speak for other countries, but certainly in the UK, you know, that kind of shouty, grunty rock was never quite sort of. It used to get into the mainstream. As I say, you'd hear occasionally bands like Thin Lizzy on Top of the Pops, but it was never sort of centre of the mainstream. You certainly would never hear AC/DC on, you know, kind of BBC Radio 1 or whatever. You know, that was all just, as I was growing up, that was all, you know, Village People and Rocky Sharp and the Replays, and anyone else remember them? Ramalama Ding Dong, dear me. But yeah, it was never sort of bubbling quite prominently to the surface in the UK. You used to have to seek it out if that was very much your, you know, penchant for styles of music. So it's still there. You've just got to seek it out. Dr. Gomez 1, yes, I'm with you 100% on that, mate. The Fender Lace pickups are still very good. You know, I used to, in the 90s, when Fender's Strats used to come with various variety of lace sensors in, I had a mate who had an early 80s Squire Strat, probably worth a king's ransom now because it was in absolute mint condition, and he put I think a Fender blue, like a blue lace sensor in the bridge, and I think either a couple of silvers or a couple of gold lace sensors in the neck and middle, and that was a fantastic guitar. Stevie Mack saying Boney M had great bass lines. That's going to be one of my top fives coming up. I've done my favourite bass players, but I've never done my favourite bass lines. And, you know, one of them that I'll guarantee will be on the list is not Boney M, but it's the Four Seasons, December 63, or What a Night. Never understood why that song is called December 63, or What a Night, because the song never mentions December. Late September in 63, you know, that's what they sing, but for some reason it's called December 63, What a Night. But the bass line on that is absolutely epic. And Ravensmead is saying, hi John, my dog Sonny has just survived his operation for cancer and will be doing walkies in a week or two. I love him so much. Well, give him a bloody big hug from me, mate. Yes, we lost our last dog, Taylor, at the age of, I think he was about 14, to cancer. And it's a heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, nasty, horrible, shitty thing to have to do, to lose a much-loved pet. But you kind of, when you get a pet, you just know that that's part of the deal, that you are going to outlive them. But you must be so relieved, mate. Give him as I say, give him a good old walkies and give him a hug from me. Anyway, shall we have a look at some pictures of guitars? Pictures of guitars, what you good chaps have sent in. I was going to say over the past week, but you know, I just picked these at random, so there might have been some might have been sent in over the past week, but some of them haven't. And if you have any guitar pictures that you want to share with me, then once again, you know what to do. Just email the pictures over, jrguitartuition@gmail.com. One thing I would say is that if you want to make life easy on a befuddled old simple bald fat northern lad like me, then please make the pictures either JPEG or PNG, because I've been getting a few pictures in some rather odd formats recently, and it's just extra work that I have to do to kind of download them and then convert them to a format that my photo viewer will recognize, and then re-upload them. And you know, so JPEG or PNG, if you don't mind. Anyway, let's have a look and see what we've got this very week, starting with not a guitar. This is a lovely orange Rockaverb 100 stack. This belongs to Len McIver, and as you can see from the text on screen, trade for quality or other acoustic guitar. So if you're hankering for a raucous, loud orange stack, and why wouldn't you be? then get in touch with me, jrguitartuition@gmail.com, and I'll put you in touch with Len. He did say, excuse me, in the email that he got it to replicate a rig from his younger days, and it's just too damn loud for his more mature ears, and he's looking to trade it for something that is more befitting of his current, more mature years, shall we say. So, yeah, get in touch with me. You know the email address, and I'll put you in touch with Len if that's something that you might be interested in, you know, kind of trading something for. And what have we got here? John North again. John North is doing a lot of heavy lifting in this part of the show at the moment. He sent me loads of pictures of his Telecaster. And what we've got here, we've got a Squire, custom Squire in Sherwood Green, double bound. Normally he's very, very good at listing any mods that are done to it. But you know, it doesn't appear that he's needed to do anything to this, which is nice. I don't know, just it. I know, an Squire is a perfectly valid form of guitar, but without the neck pickup there, to me, it looks a little bit. You know, like when you see an electric car. Bear with me on this one. You know, when you see an electric car, and the front of it is just like kind of featureless, because there's no need for a radiator grill. It looks, you know, so it's like the car doesn't have a face. Well, it's almost like the guitar is missing its face without that neck pickup. Is that just me, or does anyone else feel that way as well? Maybe I'm just a bit weird. It has been said before. Another one from John North. This is a parts caster. Fender neck with 9.5-inch radius, vintage tuners. Guitar built body, not decided on the colour. DiMarzio pickups, humbucker, and single coil, no tone on the neck pickup. So I wouldn't worry about the colour, mate. I think that looks rather fetching the way it is. I own a guitar that looks very, very similar in. Just give it an oiled finish, mate, and that'll be absolutely splendid. What else have we got? This is Mr. Chris's Harley Benton HB 35 Plus left-handed. He's just sold this, he tells me, and he sold it to a left-handed guitar player who's appearing in some stage production of Back to the Future. Well, yeah, I can see that. It looks like the sort of a left-hander of the Marty McFly guitar, doesn't it? What else have we got? This belongs to Rex from Phoenix, Arizona. You know that because you know that's where he always is. Unlike the week when he was in Redcar, and this is his Yamaha. Is that a 5 or a 9? I'm going to say that's a 5. An F59R. A 5 or a 9, a 5 or an S, you know what I mean. So that's a Yamaha F59R. Rex does have something of a taste for rather tasty looking acoustics, and when he was here in Redcar, and we went for the Redcar Mageddon thing, we went to a guitar shop the next day, Stephen James Guitars in Saltburn, and Rex was playing a few of the acoustics in there. He's quite a tasty player, it has to be said. He's quite the acoustic picker, is Rex. You know, so I was just glad he didn't hand it to me and say, "No, you do something," because I'd have just probably strummed something, you know. But anyway, let's move on. This is a Tom Clark guitar. This is his Godin Freeway guitar. What a classy looking piece of kit that is. That's just a really, really lovely looking kind of, you know, could easily, you stick some gold hardware on that, and maybe, a little bit more bling, and that would be a bit Liberace, but it just stays the right side of the line, doesn't it? Lovely looking thing. And another one from Tom Clark. This is his Nashville Telly with a B bender on it. That's something else I've never played. I've never played a guitar with a B bender. If anybody's got a B bender guitar and they want to loan it to me, and and you can watch me play it and point and laugh at my ineptitude. And another one from Tom Clark. This is his Shine Jazz Box, and he did say he'd upgraded the pickups to Seymour Duncan's. I bet that was a fun escapade, wasn't it? You know, kind of keyhole surgery through the F-holes. Yeah, that if I had a job like that to do, that would be definitely. I'd be picking up the phone to James at Agrijag and saying, "James, help." What else have we got? Another Tom Clark one. This is his Korean Squire Strat. believe I had that model as well. Not in that colour, but, I seem to remember, that sort of logo, like the silver Squire logo, and I think I had one of those back in the early 90s at some point. It looks very, very familiar, only mine was black with a maple neck. And another Tom Clark Strat. This one is obviously a USA Strat. And it's a little bit blurry if I try and zoom in. But just essence of USA made Strat. Lovely stuff. Anyway, is that the lot? Have we rattled through them all? I believe we have. That's your lot for this week. Some lovely pictures of guitars once again, and if you have any, pictures of guitars that you want to just throw in the gallery, then please do ping them over to me, jrguitartuition@gmail.com. I'm just going to have a little bit of a lubrication, and then I'm going to catch up with the chat. So, there he is. Speak of the devil, and he turns up. Heafley, just been talking about you, mate, with your lovely Ibanez Destroyer. Yes, I happened to mention it, and they said, sure, I said, so I did. I'm going to be making the video with that one on Sunday morning, and I'll ping you an email of the finished video, so you get advanced view of it. Bev Doyle saying, hit me with your rhythm stick, bonkers bass. It is indeed, isn't it? Norman Watt-Roy, very, very underrated bass player. You hear people talking about bass players, and you hear, Stanley Clarke and Jaco Pastorius and Mark King and all the usual names that crop up, but you never hear many people speaking in hushed tones about Norman Watt-Roy, but he is a fantastic bass player. Malcolm Spillett saying, I recently buried another cat, but we still have 5. Sorry to hear that, mate. Sorry to hear that. But as I said, you have a pet, you're going to outlive it. And that's just the sort of... I wait up like this, you get at least a good 10 years, often more companionship and, unconditional affection from your pets. And then, sadly, one day they're not there anymore, and you've got that horrible decision to make of like, they've probably had enough now. It probably would be the kindest thing to do. And, and you just have to deal with that grief for a little while, and then, you move on and you get another, not a replacement, because, when we lost Taylor, Dougal wasn't a replacement. He was just the next incumbent. Heafley's saying, all great stuff, John. I went back and watched it a little bit earlier in the stream. Good for you, mate. Reeled in 58 is saying, I had a Tokai telly with a B-bender for a while. It's a pain in the proverbially if you have a stand-in drummer on the night. The first few songs, every time you use it, the drummer stops playing. Yeah, the main reason I would like to try one is I want to have a go at the Bernie Leadon solo from the Eagles. What's the song? Take It Easy. That's the one, isn't it? I did try kind of think, that's a nice kind of country sort of solo. I could do that on the channel. Back in the days when I was doing solo analysis on the channel before the copyright wombles turned ever more zealous. I've got a video coming up on that topic as well in a few weeks. Back in the days when I was doing solo analyses on the channel, I thought I'll have a go at that. And then I realised, hang on, some of these bends are impossible. So it dawned on me, yes, Bernie Leadon, he used to play a telly with a B-bender, didn't he? So, let's have a look. Heafley's saying, to give a bit of a backstory, not all of them were bolt on next. The Phil Collin and Adrian Smith's ones weren't, but mine is a sort of budget model of the line. Okay, I didn't realise that. So a little bit like some of the entry-level Yamaha SGs that had bolt-on necks. They were still fantastic guitars, though. And I'm reminded of a quote by Paul Reed Smith. Now, I know Mr. Reed Smith does talk a lot of, shall we say, questionable stuff when it comes to the science of, the wood that goes into his guitars. But he did come out with a fantastic, it was in an interview with a guitar magazine decades ago where, the topic of the interview got round to the tone of a set neck versus the tone of a bolt-on neck. And one of the things he said was, okay, see that Strat over there? If I was to unscrew the neck and then put it back on, but with glue rather than screws, how much do you think that would affect the tone? And when you think about it like that, well, it's not really going to make that much of a difference, is it? Maybe at the margins there might be some kind of effect in terms of sustain, one way or another, but it's not really going to kind of transform the sound of a guitar. And that was a big eye-opener for me. It's like, well, yeah, okay, we tend to think of this thing, there's the bolt-on neck sound and there's the set neck sound. And that one quote there just made me think, well, actually, does it make that much of a difference? Let's have a look. Martin Scold is saying, geez, I'll miss my lovely lad Kenny. I named my Les Paul after him when he passed, and the Truss Rod cover bears his name. Oh, it's a nice tribute, mate. The tribute that we have to not Dougal, but not Taylor, our previous dog, to Cassie, our first border collie that we had, who passed away in 2012. Yes, the house, you can put a nameplate on your house and, that's our house is officially called the Dog House because we've got a nice engraved, kind of Lakeland slate sign that says so, and if you are from beyond these shores, when a chap says that he's in the doghouse, it means that he's having, marital relations are somewhat frosty, shall we say, I forgot a birthday, I'm in the doghouse, that kind of thing. So it was just my little tongue-in-cheek tribute to Cassie, and, because I don't drive and I get whenever I've been any distance, I get a taxi. I just say, go to the name of the road. And I said, look for the house called the Dog House. And it always raises a smile with the taxi driver. Let's have a look, see what else I'm missing. Gordo Canuck is saying, has anyone ever tested the sounds of different neck attachments on the same guitar? Shouldn't be that difficult with modern technology. Yes, but you'd have to do the set neck one last, wouldn't you? And I'm just wondering how you could, because the three main types are bolt-on, set neck, and neck through. So I'm not quite sure how you could do. You could certainly test bolt-on, then glue the neck on to test the difference there between, bolt-on and glued-in neck. But I'm not sure how you could do it on the same guitar, keeping all variables the same, as it were, and compare it to a neck through body. Or like a neck through kind of thing. But yes, greater minds than mine can ponder on that. Anyway, just talking about guitars with bolt-on necks, he said, neatly segueing. Don't forget, I've still got this Strat fundraiser going, which it's stalled a little bit at the moment because, because I keep forgetting to mention it, but I'm just going to put the link in the chat there. This is a fundraiser that I'm running to buy a Fender Ultra Strat. Not for me. It's going to end up getting donated to Zoe's Place Baby Hospice. But what I've got over there is a Squire Strat. So that's from the bottom end of the Fender family tree. And I just thought it would be a fun comparison to do between something from the entry-level reaches of the Fender range to something that's nearer the top. So, if you'd like to chip in, then please feel free to follow the link that I've just put in the chat. if we don't get anywhere near the agreed, that like the can, not the agreed, but the target sum to purchase the guitar, I'm going to give it a few more months. But if we don't get anywhere near, then I'll just cash in the fundraiser and just donate the money to Zoe's place, and they can do whatever they want with it. So we shall see. We'll just see how it pans out, basically. Anyway, more drink. I've got one more beer, and I've got 8 minutes and 50 seconds to get it down my yap before the end of the live stream. So we'll see if we can manage that, shall we? Nice to be able to have achieved something. Mind you, I think it was Balder months ago on the stream when we were talking about different beers, and I think it might have been this one that he was referring to. He says it's like having sex in a canoe because it's like effing close to water. But when you save your beer consumption for a weekend, as I'm trying to do now, not always successfully, but I'm trying to save me beer consumption for a weekend, then it's still rather a treat to look forward to. Let's have a look, see what else I've missed in the chat. Malcolm Spillett saying, Martin Booth once told me that he had a conversation with Paul Reed Smith asking if his latest model could be improved. Martin suggested coil split, and Mr. Smith got the arse with him. He does strike me as being the kind of chap who, would very easily get the arse with you. And again, if you're beyond these shores and you're not quite sure what that means, I'm sure you probably worked it out. But getting the arse with somebody is getting annoyed at them. Let's just put it politely like that. El Duderino is saying, it's true though, the bolts and the air gap make a big difference in the snap and feel. Yeah, this is it though. If the neck pocket is cut correctly and the neck is cut correctly, there shouldn't be much of an air gap. And when you've got a glued-in neck guitar, how do you know that there isn't, dry patches in there where the glue hasn't taken or whatever? Especially when we're talking about Gibsons from a certain part of their history where they were a little bit sloppy when it came to quality control. You could easily have air gaps there. That's not anything that's scientifically based, but it just strikes me as being something that could happen. Les Hewitt is saying, try speckled hen. Yes, I have, mate. I've had many a rollicking good evening on old speckled hen, or spotty chicken, as we call it in these parts. Give us a pint of spotty chicken. It's that's a proper drink. It's don't make any plans for the next day though. You're probably best not to make the plans than to make the plans and have to cancel them. Let's have a look. Bev Doyle's theme tunes are saying, strangely, I feel I'd enjoy sex in a canoe much more than any beer. Yes, the thing is, when you get to a certain age, the canoe, you start thinking, well, maybe a rowing boat, maybe the QE2, would be a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, Heafley's saying, that's the way to see it. I don't like to get into the discussion of set neck versus bolt on. If it plays nicely, I don't much care. And, I don't know if you've seen any of Glenn Fricker's videos where he does the blind test between, some budget plank and some custom shop, kind of esoterica. And, even with like edge of breakup and clean sounds, with a high gain sound, of course, you're not going to hear the difference because most of the tone that you're hearing is being generated by the distortion characteristics of the amp. But, you know, even with, he did that thing at Gear Street, didn't he, where people couldn't hear the difference between, you know, some high-end, you know, core PRS, and I can't remember what the cheap guitar, maybe it was a Harley Benton, that they couldn't hear the difference in tone with. I think a lot of what he says is true, that we do listen with our eyes. And when it comes to the whole tone wood thing, you know, the only effect I can really say that I've my settled opinion, because I've flipped and flopped on this over the years many times, my settled opinion is that if an electric guitar is acoustically resonant and rings out a lot, then I find that a pleasing tactile experience as a player. And I suspect the fact that I'm enjoying playing a guitar will affect the way that I play it. And will that affect the tone? Will that affect, you know, the attack of the pick and, you know, the gusto with which I play? I suspect it will, but whether or not it has any, you know, kind of impact on the electrical signal that's coming out of the jack socket is, as I say, something that I've ummed and ahed about and believed arguments in both directions over the years. So, you know, but I think I've settled on the fact that now I just prefer, as a tactile experience, playing a guitar that has that sort of big ringing acoustic sound. Malcolm Spillett is saying, John, you played my Ferrocaster. I remember it well, mate. But you said it sounded like a Telecaster, and it did, mate. Yes. You know, so that if you're not seeing that video, Malcolm has a guitar made entirely, well, not the neck, but the body is made entirely of like wrought iron. You know, like the kind of sort of thing that you'd go to your local blacksmith and get maybe a garden gate made like that. Well, it's the body is entirely made of that, and you know, and it's in a Telecaster shape, and it sounded, funnily enough, like a Telecaster. Just working on the on getting through it before the end of the stream. I probably won't. Let's have a look. El Duderino is saying, I kind of feel like it only matters to the feel of the guitar player. Nobody else can hear it as much. You feel resonance. So the other thing I will say that I notice is that I've started noticing this a little bit more recently, is that I'll get when I'm recording a demo of a guitar, I'll get what sounds like a fantastic tone in the room, and then you listen back to the recording, and it's never the same, you know. And I think what you're doing when you're hearing the sound of the guitar in the room, you are hearing just that acoustic overtone. You know, you're hearing the amplified sound coming out the speakers, but you're also hearing that sort of acoustic kind of sparkle on top of it, and that can, you know, I've started to have to adjust for that, as I did a video, you know, ages ago about how much I like to roll the tone control off on a lot of guitars, you know, and when I record, I'm thinking, yeah, maybe it wasn't quite as trebly as it seemed, so maybe I don't need to compensate for that. Anyway, chaps, 59 minutes plus change into the stream, and I've got to go and order kebabs and so on. So we're going to wrap things up there. Thank you once again, 126 souls on board. Thank you once again for turning up and listening to a fat, bald northern lad talk absolute bollocks for an hour. Take no notice of anything I've said. It's probably wrong, but I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me. Until next time, gentlemen, please.